Welcome back to Saturn Sirens. Today we have a special guest named Pier. Say hi, Pier.
Hi, everyone.
We're so excited to have her. She's really smart. I listen to her videos and I'm like, oh my gosh, this lady is a wealth of knowledge. We are going to talk about the second house a little bit today. So take it away, Mary.
Hi guys. The second house, we covered the first house last time and everything involving that. So the second house is kind of at the we're moving away from the self with every house. So the second house is your personal belongings, your relationship with money, but most of all, your sense of self-worth and sense of self-esteem. Also what you value because it's ruled by Taurus and by Venus. So it kind of seems like a boring house, but it's actually can be pretty deep depending on if you have planets there or not. And another thing I recently learned actually about the second house is it rules over the senses. So, like your taste, smell, touch are all shown in the second house, which, if you think about it, makes sense because that's all Taurus stuff. So that's pretty interesting. But so I wanted to talk a little bit first about Pier because she came to me. We're both astrologers on TikTok. We're both new to creating content. And she came to me for a reading. And I was just like so in awe of her because she is so knowledgeable and so intelligent about astrology. So we kind of wanted to hear your story, Pierre, which is why we had you on here. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Oh, okay. Background. I, where should I start?
Wherever you want.
Well,
Here's
how'd you get into astrology?
how did I get into astrology? So I let me go all the way back to when I first got into spiritual things, metaphysical things. So I actually I was a lawyer. I used to be a lawyer. So that was when I graduated from law school when I was 26 years old. And, I got to the, I was working in a law firm after I completed 1 year of a federal clerkship. And, I was kind of like, well, I made it. You know what I mean? Like, I made it. And then I was like, what did I make? I mean, I wasn't miserable, but I was just like, okay, I
You
don't
weren't like content, yeah.
exactly. So this was right before my Saturn return. And I had a friend who was doing kind of like spiritual work, but I wasn't interested. She wasn't really pushing it on me. But suddenly, right around my Saturn return, I became curious and I attended this course called Healing Through Humor. And this is the man named Mick McKenzie, who I'm not sure that he's still around anymore, but that was where I had a profound spiritual awakening. Like I physically felt it, that blissed out state. And he was the one that told me, first of all, read these books, check out Reiki, do all of this stuff. So I did, and I took this Reiki. I know, Mary, you said that you were a Reiki master.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, Reiki is pretty cool because it's energy work. So
Yeah.
I used to be a massage therapist, and I also, like you, and actually Chase too, we all found astrology right before our Saturn return. So
Yes, yes.
in at the same time. But actually, when I found astrology, I thought I was meant to like heal with my hands because I'm a Virgo and Gemini midheaven. So I became a massage therapist. So the Reiki kind of went along with it. But
Yeah, yeah, I did that. I only got attuned to second level, but anyway, I ended up going to the spiritual healing school there, which was energy based. So I do also hands-on healing. That's why, Mary, I told you I connected with you so much. Anyway, long story short, go through a bunch of years of other stuff, and then I knew about astrology, but it wasn't until Neptune conjuncted my North Node in Pisces. And I was telling Mary that I feel like we both kind of like jumped into it really strongly right then, because Mary's North Node is a few degrees before mine.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And so I was craving, like, I was just devouring it. And I don't even know why, but and I was like on Facebook and, in these Facebook groups, and I would just answer questions and ask people stuff. And one of the things that I did, Mary, I know you talk a lot about, because people are always asking about Placidus versus whole signs. And so it was back then when I decided I would just go with whole signs, because I did kind of like a survey, totally South Node in Virgo, right? I did I did a survey, and I was like, I would ask people who had intercepted houses. I would ask them like, well, do you notice this, or do you feel this way about your intercepted house? And there was no common thing. It didn't seem to make much. Some people think that there's a thing there, and that's fine. They probably do have a thing, but there wasn't anything common among people. So I
Yeah,
said,
it makes sense
I'm
for sure.
not gonna I'm not gonna worry about it, because it's it's more it makes it's easier to use the whole sign houses, and you can get a lot out of it. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's how I got into astrology. Forgive me, I tell long stories, but
We love
That's
it.
so awesome. You know what's funny too is your North Node in Pisces in the eighth house, Chase's North Node in Scorpio in the 12th house. And I just love that because, like, that ties in so well.
Oh, yeah,
And
big time.
her and I both have the North Node in Pisces. Hers is at an Aquarius degree at 11 Pisces. Mine is at a Leo degree at 5
And
Pisces.
and you're a Leo rising.
I'm Leo,
Yeah. And
right?
in my relocation chart, which I relate to so much because I've lived here for so long, my North Node is in the eighth house, just like hers. So we have all of us, we have such similar stories. So
Yeah,
I feel like astrology brought us together.
yeah. So yeah, and so then I don't know. I've just been kind of picking up, studying along the years, and I've been taking I've kind of been on hold the past 7 years a little bit, because helping my parents through, like end of life stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So now that that's passed, and I'm kind of at the end of a cycle right now, I'm ready to, as I discussed with Mary in my fabulous session yesterday. So I recommend
Book a
everybody
session with Mary.
book a session with
Oh,
Mary.
thank
Um,
you guys.
yeah, I'm ready to really, really focus on the astrology.
We're like all in the same
Yeah,
point in life right now. Like that's
I love
crazy.
it.
And that's how things work, right? I mean, and especially when you're open, and connected, you recognize the people, you recognize who is the universe trying to bring to you. Because, before I had my session yesterday, I was like, so, I have a lot of Pluto, so I have to be careful about my attention, but you know what I
Mm.
mean? Because when you're Plutonian, like when you see something that you're attracted to, it's very intense, and a lot of people can't do that. So I'm like, I really like Mary, and I'm like, there's something there, but I gotta be kind of careful, because I don't want to be like, oh, she's obsessed with me. But what I was telling myself before the before the reading was that I told Mary this in the session, that I felt like she's in my soul group,
Oh,
especially because I've seen a lot of the things that she talked about that are so similar to our paths, and I felt like she would have a message for me, that would help me to get a bit unstuck. And I think that's what astrology is for me.
yeah.
It's learning about myself, and I, want all this for everyone too, but learning about myself. There's an element of confirmation, and that's what Mary at the end of the session, she's like, well, I feel like you knew all of that. I'm like, well, I mean, some of it, yes, because we do different things, but yes, I do know about that. But there, we have these things in our minds that tell us, and no, that's not what you're supposed to do, because of how we're conditioned. And That's
So, but yeah,
You need
a
someone
lot
else
of
to come in and give you that, like, yes,
permission,
you're not crazy. Yes, I see that too. And that's what you're
validation.
supposed to do.
validation. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is.
So it's funny because you mentioned Pluto, and you have Pluto in the second house, right?
I have Pluto in the second house.
So we kind of all have very different planets in the second house. So I feel like we could all talk about our own second house, and
Yeah.
somebody out there will probably relate to one of them. So, do you want to start with yours, Chase, since you have the most planets there?
Yeah. Okay, so it's funny because in Placidus, I have a first house stellium, and that doesn't make any sense to me, but I have a second house stellium in whole signs, and it's Capricorn, it's my Sun, Mercury, Neptune, and Uranus. So I've got a lot of conflicting energy in there, and I definitely see that in my life. I was just thinking about it yesterday. I have, Mary knows this. And you guys know this if you've been listening. I have a, I'm very spiritual. I grew up very religious. I still am very religious. But I do it in a very unconventional way. And I have Chiron in the 10th house. I feel like I've had a hard time with my public perception and how people receive me sometimes. And a lot of times I get attached to these, like, what other people would consider unimportant rabbit holes and controversial, or just like not something that's uncomfortable and people don't want to, like astrology, like just stuff like this, like things people aren't on board with a lot of the times, just the average everyday human. And I'll just like, I'm very Scorpio, so I just like dive into it and make it my entire personality. And I realize, like, having Uranus and Neptune in there, a huge part of my self identity are these unconventional rabbit hole spiritual pursuits. And I would like more people to talk about having the Uranus Neptune conjunction, because a lot of people have it, but a lot of times people talk about Uranus or Neptune separately. But I know not everybody has it, but a lot of people have this conjunction. And so that's something that I feel like I see in my life. I see, I was just listening to the 12 Houses book, and it was talking about not Neptune, Uranus in the second house, and how, like, they fluctuate. They have a weird, they connection with possessions, like stuff like that. And I feel that way. Like, I'm always throwing away my stuff. I'm always just trying to like get rid of all my stuff. I don't want to be attached to things. And having my son there, I didn't really understand, but Mary was telling me about how, like, the son is more about your father than you. And I do identify with that because my self identity comes so much from my dad. Like, I am the daughter of my father. Like, that is who I am and how I view myself and how I feel about myself. Like, that's such a massive part of my identity. And then I don't know about Mercury there, but it's in there too.
Well, you also have Capricorn there, so that's like
Capricorn.
the father. And Uranus or Aquarius in the second house, they almost always go through not being attached to money versus being attached to money. They even like give it all away to charity sometimes because it's about Aquarius and it's humanitarian. But the second house, whatever is in your second house, influences your self worth. It influences your values. So it's really common to have placements that your parents have. So, like, I have my moon, but it's in Libra, which is my dad is a Libra.
Right.
So, my mom and my dad extremely influenced my sense of self worth. But then also in the future, the second house rules how you can make money. So for me, I found that I wasn't successful in any career unless my heart was truly in it and unless I was emotionally fulfilled.
Wow.
So I needed to do something that gave me emotional fulfillment. And, obviously I didn't know this when I was younger, but it makes so much sense looking back now because of my moon being there. So that's pretty interesting. And then, going to the Pluto, like in Pier's chart, the people who have come to me with Pluto in the second house have had like a lot of power when it comes to their self worth, but it wasn't always that way. But like in the beginning, they could have struggled in that area of life, but then later on, they turned that into power. So I don't know, how did this manifest for you, Pier?
Well, and as you know, I also have the South Node in my second
Oh
house.
yeah, that's true. So that's going to completely change that for
Oh,
you. I totally forgot about that.
yeah, so I think with respect to Pluto, um, I right now I'm in one of those South Node times. I think that even with Pluto there, you can go up and down in terms of your own personal resources. And it's probably more pronounced since the South Node is there, because, I look at the nodes as like there needs to be more of a balance. Like,
Mm.
I need to go more towards relying on other people's resources, which is it's very uncomfortable because I'm like, I can do this myself. Um, but I think, in terms of, like, let's take the self-worth aspect of the second house. I feel, even though like outwardly I feel insecure, in a lot of ways, but deep down I feel like I know myself, you know what I mean? Like, I know that I am, I don't know, I do know that, at my core, I'm powerful.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of, bringing that out and having I don't know, it's weird, having confidence in it. So it's, I feel like I'm not, I don't have a deep sense of insecurity. It's just my way of expressing it in the world, and that could also be because I have Pluto retrograde.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So inside, because the retrogrades are more internalized, energy of the planet. So maybe it's more like inside I have that, and the challenge is how do I express that power into the world, confidently. That's
Yeah,
how
with Pluto
it,
there too, like you said, like there's this inner well of power and self-confidence, but with the South Node there, it's like pushing you towards relying on others, and it puts you in situations that are kind of uncomfortable because you're forced to rely on others and accept resources and help from others. So I
mm-hmm,
feel like Pluto there, probably makes it even more uncomfortable, I think, because Pluto in the second house, they're usually like really want to be financially stable and they want to do it
yes,
themselves and they want to have that power. So
mm-hmm,
with the South Node there, completely changes that expression because it's out of your control. Life will force you to rely on others because it's part of your North Node of
right,
depending on other people to help you. Because the beautiful thing about the North Node in the eighth house and in Scorpio, so it applies to Chase too, is that you're meant to learn how to trust and experience deep relationships with other people. So usually that has to happen when you're extremely vulnerable and you have no
Mm.
choice but to rely on other people. And that's when they kind of prove to you that they're trustworthy because they're there for you. So
right,
you form these deep relationships. So it really is such a beautiful North Node. And it definitely always ties into astrology or something of that nature because of the energy of Scorpio. It's all about the hidden mysteries of life and
mm-hmm,
the secrets of life and death and what is deeper, what's beyond the layers, what's the real truth. So those are all questions that lead you to astrology.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, the second house is pretty cool like that. I mean, on the surface level, just like all the earth houses, except maybe the 10th house, it seems pretty boring, but it's actually such a key area of life. And what I meant by when we move further away from the ascendant, it's like the focus is moving further and further away from the self. So
Mm-hmm.
the second is everything that's still kind of very related to you. So like your personal belongings, your senses, your five senses, the money you have in your bank account, the way you feel about yourself, all of that. And then the third house goes into the people. So your neighborhood, your siblings, your neighbors. And it gets further and further away. Fourth house is your parents, etc., till we get to back to the 12th house. So it's pretty interesting, but not so much to cover about the second house, I think,
Can I
just
say
because.
something about something else that I think is an interesting thing that I've been figuring out about the second house? So I have Virgo in the second house, and I'm going to relate this to the your personal belongings area. So, Virgo, likes things orderly, neat, take care of things. And my mom told me that that when I okay, so here's my thing in terms of order. As long as I have a place for my stuff, everything's organized. But like when I don't have a place to put things, I leave them out,
Mm-hmm.
because there's no place for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of my drawers, like if I have cabinets or drawers, everything is in order, always. And even like my underwear, like I fold them and stuff like that. My mom said that I've done that since I was a little girl.
Wow.
She's like, you know so I think that is this like that's again with Pluto too. It's sort of like internal Virgo order versus you know not having the external, sort
Yeah.
of like the Pisces on the outside and the Virgo on the inside. But I thought that was interesting that just I came into life like, okay, I need my things
Wow.
in order.
With your South Node there, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
That's so funny.
yep.
Also, it just popped in my head that I have Uranus and Neptune in my second house, and I relate the second house to my dad because my son's in there. And my dad was a Aquarius Pisces stellium.
Yeah,
So what? That's crazy.
I like that too, because your dad was an Aquarius sun and a Pisces moon,
It
right?
had like a ton of Pisces.
That's
Like
it.
just
So
like
wait, Pierre, were any of your parents like Scorpio or Virgo placements?
Oh, my dad's a Virgo, or was a Virgo. He was Virgo sun, and he had, it wasn't Kazemi, but he had Mercury very, very close to his sun.
That's
Um,
awesome. That's like me because my dad is a Libra and I have a Libra, my second house. So
interesting.
yeah.
yeah. Well, it's very common, like I said, is having one of your parents' signs, or in Chase's case, the planets that are their ruler in the second house, because who influences your sense of self-worth?
Oh, that's true.
Usually
Yeah.
the parents.
Wow.
So
I feel like we
yeah,
just made a discovery.
Yeah,
we
that's a
did.
pretty
Yeah.
good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. So it gets, I also heard apparently, I don't know, tell me if this is true, Chase, but people who have their sun in the second house can struggle with like being insecure because they think they're boring or something. And I'm just like,
I don't feel boring.
yeah, I was like, a lot of them that I know are definitely not boring. So I wonder
I'm a
why.
little extra.
I have
Yeah,
a question
but it's a
for
good thing.
I have a
Um,
question for Chase too about
Okay.
the sun in the second house, because you also have Uranus there and Neptune. So I wonder, do you have but you're Capricorn too. But my question is, do you currently, because I don't know how old you are, but
28.
she's a baby.
Saturn's coming. Um,
Saturn already came.
oh, that's right,
Capricorn
you and
energy.
Ariana,
She's
because you
older, but
both
she's a
have
baby.
you both
Saturn
have that
return.
Neptune Uranus conjunction.
Right, right, right.
No,
I
well,
was
I have Neptune Saturn conjunction. So it was that weird like few years where Neptune, Uranus, and Saturn were all like close together in Capricorn, and they conjuncted each other at some point. Some people have like three of them conjunct. So
Yeah.
that's
so
why.
weird.
But I was gonna ask you, do you have like an aversion to like building wealth, or do you have like, are you, yeah, that's the question.
That's the question. Okay. Yeah. So as a Capricorn, I want to be financially stable. I want to have my own things. I want to, um, you know, have all that. But as somebody with all those interesting planets in there in Capricorn, that has not ever happened. I've never had financial stability in the sense of my own.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true. I've been able to provide for myself. Like I've paid rent. I've lived on my own. Right now I
Right.
live with my mom for family reasons, but like you were saying about Mary about like relying on other people's resources, I'm like, oh, well, good. I'm embodying that. But
Especially too with your moon, with your south node. I mean north node.
yeah, my moon is conjunct my north node.
So like relying on your mom too.
Yeah, that's literally what I'm doing right now. But like I said, I could take care of myself. It's not that I can't. But anyway, so
Right. But I think though that with the sun, it's not. That's something that we grow towards, unless that's something that we don't fully identify with. And I think Leo risings are a little bit different
oh yeah.
because it's the ascendant ruler, but um I feel like that's something where you will be strong because that is that is where you get your vitality through the sun.
Right, right,
And
right.
that is your path. But that's something. Where's your moon?
The 12th house.
So sextile the sun. So
I have
and
a Scorpio stellium sextiling my second house stellium.
Yeah, and you
and
guys both
you're
have your
yeah,
moon with the north node.
and I think like you're doing with the moon in the 12th house in Scorpio and doing I'm not sure what else you're doing, but doing the astrology and all of
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff is because I was looking at, I don't know if you guys used that or have used this book by Demetra George, Astrology and the Authentic Self. It's
No, but I'm reading her book about the asteroids.
I want to get that one too, but it's really good. And she talks about how the moon is the method that you use to get to expressing your sun.
Wow.
Yeah. And I like envy you, like both of you. I think Mary, you have moon trine sun.
I have a grand trine with my moon and Jupiter and my sun.
Yeah, because then you're it's a little bit, I don't want to say easy because none of this game is easy, but um obviously the sextile and the trines or any communication between the planets is a little bit different. Like I'm new moon, but my sun and is in Aquarius and moon in Pisces, so they don't exactly talk to each other, right?
Mm, yeah, that makes sense.
So anyway, um, that's interesting. I kind of suspected that the sun, you know, it, unless there are other, strong things there, that it would take more time to sort of embrace the sun
So,
energy.
so my brother is a Capricorn sun and Sagittarius rising, just like me. We both have our rising in a late degree and our sun in an early degree, so they're conjunct, both of us.
Mm.
He only has, I think he might have one other thing in the second house, but it's on the very end, and he has his sun at 0 degrees in the second house. And he's way more concerned about pursuing like
Stat
wealth.
in the true Capricornian fashion.
Yes, like he's he went to business school. He's going to be an entrepreneur. Like he's very much more
That's
on that life path than me.
my Libra moon in the second house. The way it manifested is I always attracted partners who took care of me financially. But I think that had to happen because I have my North Node in the seventh house.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of needed to not be so financially independent. Otherwise, I would not have gone towards my North Node. I probably would have been single forever and loving it. But in this lifetime, like, nope, you're being forced to be in relationships. So have fun with that with your afflicted Libra moon in your second house.
Oh,
Have
God.
fun never being able to create financial stability for yourself. So you have to find it through a partner. That's how it manifested for me. But even though I have that grand trine, my moon is very afflicted. I mean, it's in making an exact to the degree square to Uranus. So that's fun. And it's making
Mm.
another square to Neptune and Saturn. And then my sun squaring Mars and I think just Mars. Yeah, and Mars squares my Mercury too. So the grand trine kind of gets lost in between, but the way it manifested is I didn't really find that gift until later on in life.
Wow.
Because sometimes too with trines and grand trines especially, you can take them for granted
Right.
because it's so natural.
That's why you probably need those squares though, because just the square is about action.
Yeah,
Uh,
you're right.
mhm.
That's a good point, and it kind of forces you to tap into that trine, which is what happened for me later.
And
Mhm.
there's always reasons for like negative aspects in your chart, like challenging aspects, because they force you on your life path.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's so true.
Yeah.
They create the external circumstances because everything as within so without and as above so below. I really believe in that those sayings. So whatever's going on inside you, it gets mirrored back to you eventually, externally. So your inner conflicts with yourself, you create them through other circumstances, usually involving other people. And that's how you have the opportunity to heal them. That's what forces you to heal them because you don't want to deal with that situation. So you have to kind of go within and do that inner work so that when your inside is mirroring to the outside, it's actually a good thing next time instead of that chaos that's going on within you. So it
Mhm.
definitely forces you to do the inner work, I would say, for sure.
And I think that's where we're going to wrap it up. If anyone has any final things to add, okay. Thank you, Pierre. Your insight
Yeah.
is very appreciated. We hope to have you back.
Oh, I would love to come back. Thanks for
Yeah,
inviting
well,
me.
maybe we'll see you
Fun.
next week.
Yes. Bye bye.
Yeah, we want to
Yeah.
be a regular Pier. So
Yeah, you're invited. You're invited to
I
be
would,
a part of the crew.
I would love
sure.
it. I'll try not to divert the conversation so
No, you
much,
did
but trust me.
You
amazing.
did amazing.
We
Yeah.
appreciate you so much. All right, that's it for oh, what's your TikTok?
Mine? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. It's Petrazuri Astrology. So Petrazuri Astrology.
Follow Pier, follow me, Six and Stones Astrology. Well, it's Six and Stones Astro, and then Astro Babe
89
89.
plus, especially Pier's page because it's so awesome. I love your content.
Yes. Yeah, follow
Thank
her.
you.
All right. See you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.